DeFi Kingdoms, where you can summon heroes, trade with other players, quest, and fight challenging enemies in a fantasy world brought to life in pixel art animation. Command your legion, claim your legacy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's AMA with DeFi Kingdoms. We are going to get things kicked off, although we will also have Dreamer joining us here in just a minute. But we're going to start off with some updates and then roll into some questions. We may take a little bit longer on the updates portion today, as first and foremost, we've got a few updates to cover, but also we might just go ahead and share a little alpha. So keep listening, stay tuned. We're going to get there in just a few minutes. However, to kick things off, we are going to go over to Winston Jazz Hands to find out who are you battling today.
Thanks, Bolon. Yeah, we are doing a rematch today. Kurt Hokagi's coming back. He's got some berserkers he's going to try out. These are not going to be new balanced berserkers. These are going to be old style berserkers.
Are they Nike berserkers?
What's that?
Are they Nike berserkers or Adidas berserkers?
As soon as I said that, I was like, someone's going to mention shoes.
Dad joke with dad shoes. Double whammy.
As a New Balance owner and wearer, I cannot recommend them enough. It's kind of my favorite shoes. But yeah, I'm going to fight Kurt. We're doing 2 bouts. We're doing a level 10 bout and a level 20 bout. There's some sponsorships in there already and some votes. So get in there, make sure you vote. You don't want to miss out on that. Get some Metis and some Jewel, and make sure to watch me whip Kurt. Or probably not, actually. Maybe the second game.
Try to. Yes, those matches are both already sponsored. So get out there and vote. First one should be starting in 6 minutes, and the second one 10 minutes after that, I believe, if I remember right. So get out there and get voting. Moving into some other updates that we've got going on. We did an update last night, actually. Fox, you want to talk a little bit about bridges?
Yeah. So this one was a long time coming. We've been hinting at it for a while. We actually did a fair amount of work in December to get a lot of the basis for this made. But there's obviously a lot of things that we have to do to launch a feature like this, including a bunch of testing and other things. But basically, yes, we switched over our bridges from Kaya to DFK Chain and back. They were previously using Synapse technology, and we had been experimenting with Layer 0 with the whole Sunder Dials realm. And it was going really well. So we made the decision to switch that over. We also coordinated this closely with Synapse, who were also on board with the plan of action that we had there. So we're pretty pleased with how it turned out. We actually were able to reuse most of the same type of code that we put in there for the Metis experiment that we did. There were some tweaks. There is a new bridge message version that we had to create because heroes that bridge from those 2 realms have more data points than heroes that are being sent to the Sunder Dials and back. So there's slight internal differences there, but of course for the end users and players, that all just kind of is behind the scenes stuff that just works. So just more of a technical detail. There's new things that this brings. There's some new features around being able to effectively bridge more heroes at the same time. And so that's exciting. And there's also a really cool API that Layer 0 exposes that our players and our builders can experiment with and be able to see their bridges in real time, including their Explorer as well, Layer 0 scan. And we've even experimented with certain ways to bring that into our interface. And so I'm really excited about the potential that's there for adding more seamless information in the future about bridges, just to basically make the whole experience a lot nicer for our end users, because in my opinion, in the whole crypto space, bridging is probably the most stressful thing that you can do. You're always over there kind of like biting your nails to see if it makes it. And it's always sort of like a different experience from like one chain to another. So we want to have a cohesive, easy, transparent experience for our players, because cross-chain play is actually very important in our app. So I'm excited about it. I'm pleased with it. And I think there's going to be a lot of other really cool things built on top of this in the future. And also, like higher like reliability, higher user experience, all that stuff there is just really important. I'm currently working right now actually on upgrading the old Harmony bridge, which is still there, and it's still actually currently using the Synapse technology. But we would like to get everything onto the same stack. So it's just easier to maintain, I guess, that way. So the plan is to hopefully have that ready to go soon. So expect that as well. But I imagine most people here have already bridged most of their stuff off of Harmony anyways. Let's see.
If you're listening to this AMA and you've not bridged your stuff off of Harmony, you should
Right.
go do that.
Yep. It's important to note too that we are still partners with Synapse. We will continue to use them for our ERC20 token bridging from like other chains. So specifically things like Bitcoin and Ethereum and all that type of stuff that have assets on our chain, as well as for Jewel and our other power tokens. Those are very, very important use cases, and Synapse has a very robust and good solution for that we will continue to use. So we're in a really good spot. I'm pleased with this like release because I know it's been a pain point, and I think it's gonna make everyone happy.
Nice. Yeah. And also in that release is multi-item bridging. So if you're bridging inventory, you can select multiple items and bundle them all together, which is a very nice quality of life improvement. Also last night, the new duel season started. Fox, anything you want to touch on with the new duel season?
Yeah. So there are just over here reading the chat. Clarification that power tokens are not bridgeable. My bad on that. But yeah, Jewel is like the main one there, and is also very important. So yeah, the question about duels. Yes, duels season 11 launched last night. The class rotations were changed. I don't think they've all worked through yet. We took a little bit of a different approach this time with those, where it's more of a surprise. I kind of like it, but we'll see what the reception is there, and obviously can make changes as we go. There was a weird sort of like blip at the start of this duels season where there was like some bad data that made it into the matchmaking somehow, and I'm still investigating that, but we were able to get that cleaned up pretty quickly and fixed. So other than that, we did also change the rank rewards as were announced, so those are live, and yeah, interested to see how it plays out. Enjoy.
Thank you. Yeah, the Hercules Vizzies are looking really good on those green berserkers. That's a fantastic Hulk look. I love it. Also today we announced another update that's coming. So the patch notes have already gone live for it, though the deployment has not happened. Incidentally, it happens to involve berserkers. Hubert, you want to talk about the berserker updates?
Yeah. Too bad we don't have that out right now for this fight. But yeah, we did kind of mention that this was coming, that we had a kind of larger rework of Berserker and how that and everything kind of tied to it coming, but we need to do a little bit more testing. But now I think we're in a good spot to release it. And, kind of the philosophy of Berserker is that, he's not really completely within your control. Berserk makes him go kind of crazy. And that is supposed to be generally a good thing, but with them being able to also hit their allies, like that particular point, like felt like very bad when it happened. So wanted to address that pain point and make it so that maybe actually you do want them to hit their allies sometimes, because you now get a benefit regardless of which of the like tier 1 mushrooms you have. Each of those now give you a benefit if you end up hitting in your allies. I will also just make a note right now that that doesn't mean it has to be while you're berserk to get those benefits. So there are some berserker skills that hit your allies that you are in control of, and those would trigger those things to happen as well. So it does also make I think there are a couple tier 5 abilities better in that regard too. So
Do they
yeah,
count themselves as an ally?
everyone needs to just always remember you are not an ally to yourself. That is the way it works. If it said party member, then yes, it would count yourself.
Yep.
But ally specifically excludes the person doing the action. So so there was that. Also, I saw yesterday that somebody finally found one of the 2 mythic items from patrols, the Cowl of Eternal Hunger, which very cool to see that finally drop. I was getting worried that we did something wrong, and I guess there's still one more that hasn't dropped yet, so looking forward to seeing that. But with the Cowl, that was a kind of special one because it was our first time doing something that we've kind of talked about doing internally in the past, but it's kind of felt like a big trigger to pull, and should we do it now? But we ended up deciding it would be too cool to do it, so we did it. So just with that, it gives the ability to use the Lost Soul ability Devour. It works just like the active traits do, so you can use it once per battle. And it is a little bit modified to make it more appropriate for heroes, because the Devour skill that Lost Souls use does damage based on spell, which would make it only useful for mages if we did that. So instead it uses power, so it would be useful for any class, and just use whichever is higher between attack and spell when calculating the damage that's dealt. So no MP usage for that, it just goes off, but you can just use it once per battle with that. So to the person that got it, I hope they enjoy it, and I hope you guys are excited to find your own versions of it out there. So
real quick, 2 questions on the Berserker updates, just for clarification. So if a target is marked, they have a 60% chance of hitting that target, and then if they don't, they have 90% to a random enemy, 10% to an ally. Are those 2 separate rolls?
Yes. Yeah, they'd have to be, otherwise
right,
kind of messed up. So yep, 2 separate rolls. So I mean, it reigns in the chaos of the Berserker, but the chaos remains. So
and if they don't get that 60% and it goes to the 90-10, the marked enemy is still just treated as one of the random enemies, so they still could end up hitting the marked one.
Right, so it's technically higher than a 60% chance to hit them.
Yes, just Crypto actually was doing math in Discord, which is why I wanted to just put it out for everyone, just to make sure that we were all on the same page. I don't know if his math is correct. It looked right. I don't know. It looked good. There were good numbers.
Yeah, and I guess one other thing I forgot to mention, not Berserker related, but so were there any Berserker questions before I tangent away?
Nope, I think I was going to prompt you for this tangent anyway, so go ahead.
Okay, and yeah, Kurt Hokage just brought it up as well. Potions. We have a set of 5 new potions coming in. All of them, like one thing that we've kind of been missing for a while, and it's been kind of on the list for a long time, and I've been waiting for the opportunity to sneak it in, and finally it has come. Was that when we launched Crystal Veil, we launched 2 new resources that dropped from fishing and foraging, the 3-eyed eel and the skunk shade, and the intent was for those to be used for potions, and we just had so many other things on our plate all the time, it never got prioritized. So if you look at the ingredients for I think pretty much all of those potions, you'll see that one or both of those tokens are used as ingredients there. So that should bring kind of the economy back to what was intended, where, you know, pretty much everything except for the gold crops are used for something in the game. So looking forward to seeing those out in the wild. You know, I'll just, you know, caveat that if we find that we didn't balance it quite right, there's always possibility that we could adjust some of the potions down the road. But you know, we did do a lot of testing with them, and so I think they're in a good spot and should open up a lot of different strategies for players. So hope y'all give them a go.
Yeah, very, very excited for that. It should be a
Perfect
good time.
timing, if you don't mind if I
Yes.
cut in there. Yeah,
I was going to you anyway. Y'all are on it today. Y'all are reading my mind. I love it.
Good game, Kurt. You snuck up on me there. A few of those, some of those attack-based traits can really crack the old whipski when the berserker has them. They can have pumped up attack. So, good game. I think I've been thinking back, and I can only remember one first game that I've won. I know that I've won probably a couple of them, but I can only think of one, and that was against Sergeant Filthy McNasty. So now it's Kurt as well. So that's who you guys are peers. Kurt, you guys are right here together. So keep that in mind as you as you go out into the world, that you're on the same level as Sarge. And secondly, I would like to what's the word? Not devote. Is it devote? Dedicate. Thank you, dude. My brain just sometimes it stops working. I would like
the shade at Sarge was so worth that, though.
What's that?
The shade at Sarge was golden.
Thank you. I'd like to devoticate this first win to Beetle Dude for celebrating his birthday recently. I don't think it's actually today, but I think it's like in the last 2 months. So happy birthday, Beetle Dude. That was for you, buddy. Thanks, Bolon. Back to you.
Actually, back to you real quick. Since you have a moment before the next match starts anyway, you've been doing a lot of the balance testing on the Zerker update and the new potions. Just curious if you have anything you want to add to it, how they feel, any first impressions?
No.
Okay.
No, I'll throw something in there. I think we had a lot of concerns, and Hubert and I went back and forth a teensy bit on this. We had a lot of concerns about making the Berserker too strong, right? Because you don't want to go from not quite ready to you can't win unless you're playing a Berserker. So we were trying to be really careful about bending what was there into something new without totally changing it. So I think a lot of your original strats are still going to work for the Berserker. Things that are, well, I mean, I don't know if they were working for you before, but things that you were trying to make work are going to work better in general. But I think you're still kind of trying to do the same thing. You're trying to get Berserk. You're trying to stack attack. You're trying to weaken the back lines. You're trying to hit priests or whatever, Big Mama Boar, whatever it is. You're trying to hit those back lines that are hard to reach sometimes. And I think the best part about this is whenever you accidentally hit one of your buddies or yourself, I guess, you get to do something to your opponents. That's nice. It sort of takes some of the punishment out of self-inflicted wounds. That was one thing we really thought about, is just it sucked so bad to take a full damage hit and then also just lose that turn, more or less. That turn's gone. You just hit yourself. It sucked big time. And so I think these tweaks make one Berserker pretty viable, but I think it's worth trying too. You can get Berserker's Mark. It'll happen with one, but I don't know, two might be fun. Two might be more fun. But the nice thing about it is I don't think it's going to be an OP or a meta situation, just because they're going to kind of do whatever the fuck they want a little bit. So I don't think you can just rely on it, So I'm excited to see what people do. Seeing that was kind of a close match with three regular Berserkers makes me wonder if next week I'm going to be fighting three pissed off future Berserkers. So I might need to make some Berserkers this week, and then I can just leave my desk. I'll just start the fight, and once they're all Berserk, I can go to the bathroom or get a drink or whatever. So that's probably going to be a fun fight for me. I'm looking forward to that one.
Just make sure enforce clock is basic attack, and then if they enforce the clock on you, they're just doing your job,
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Awesome. Yeah, really excited to see the meta shifts as Zerker gets this update, and I think we'll see more Zerker action, which I'm super excited for because I think it's a really fun class. Awesome. So we have one more update, and then we're going to roll into some alpha, and then we're going to hit some questions. But I am going to take the mic back here for a moment. So there's been a lot of feedback and ideas and discussion happening in Discord. First and foremost, love it. Keep it coming. We appreciate it. We want to see it. As we've mentioned before, we're not going to take every single one of those into the AMA because it wouldn't be an AMA anymore. It would just be us spitballing off of ideas. But they are all seen. They're all read. I pass them on to the team. A lot of the team also lurks Discord. Sorry to rat y'all out. But it is all being seen and taken in. So I did want to take a moment and just kind of try to more blanket address some of the most common that we've seen, particularly more recently. So a couple of the more prevailing sentiments that have been popping up is, us like reevaluating our plans and trajectory, taking current player feedback into consideration, and especially high level end game like goal content. So on that first one, we agree, and that's kind of what we actually just did. So that's why we've seen a somewhat larger pivot into things like patrols, because we reevaluated our plans and our path and figured out, hey, this is something that we need to do much, much sooner. We need to have this in place. We touched on it last week, but patrols is really just a perfect example to use for this. So I'm going to keep talking about patrols. But the way that patrols is designed is it is designed to be modular. It is going to be added to. This is not the final product. So speaking of some of those shifts, generally speaking, from our past releases, we release an entire feature in its entirety, and then after that, like, there may be updates to it, there may be tweaks to it, but the feature is more or less complete. Patrols is not that. Patrols is specifically meant to continue evolving and continue growing up to and including potentially end level or end game, like goal level content. So there's a lot of options in patrols. And so that's part of why we wanted to push patrols, was it gives us a lot of flexibility and a lot of development work that we can use in other things as well. In terms of player feedback, always something that we're taking seriously, always something that we're listening to. There's countless examples of us adjusting based on player feedback, including, again, patrols. A week after launch, we made some pretty serious adjustments to it based off of that initial feedback. So that is something that we are always watching, always listening to, and always care about. When it comes to feedback of like, what should we be working on? What's the highest priority? We're listening to that as well, but it does have to be weighed against what we're trying to achieve. So right now, we're really, in addition to our other development paths, trying to build content that is flexible and also helpful for onboarding new players and serving existing players. That said, we still have to meet our contractual obligations to our partners, advance the overall roadmap, but we're really trying to hone in on what can we build that serves both purposes, that can help us onboard new players while not forgetting or not advancing that end game goal, right? So we have tournaments coming. The alpha that I have now teased twice is going to be a little bit of tournament alpha. So I'm going to pass to Hubert in just a minute to talk about that. But tournaments really are our first piece of the highest level end game content so far. We have hunts, which are like a high level mid game, and then tournaments are that first piece of really end game content. At the end of the day, there's only so many things that we can work on at a time, and we're trying to maximize our time to advance in the most efficient and effective way that we can. And everyone in the DFK ecosystem benefits from more players in the DFK ecosystem. So we have to make sure that we are advancing on that path as well. We have an amazing community. We see the passion from all of you all the time, and we love it. So thank you for being here. Thank you for giving us feedback. Thank you for caring and wanting to be a part of this process, because it's amazing. And so we're continuing to put maximum effort into making DeFi Kingdoms everything that we and you want it to be, and just trying to continue being more effective and more efficient as we go. I see Dreamer has turned on his camera, so I'm going to pass over to him. And then if anybody else wants to add anything, please feel free.
Oh, Bull, and I think that was a really good update and summary of the passionate activity in Discord. And I just wanted to add a little bit of the inputs of the decisions so far. So if we go back in the year and we look at everything that we built, or even if you go back 2 years or 3 years, if you snapshot that point in time and you love those features in that point in time and you say, give me more of these features, but then you zoom back out and you realize all of the new features you would have missed. I think that there's a little bit of, trusting the long-term process of the build. Patrols is an incredible feature, but if you're in the brains of the game committee, or in Hubert's brain, this is unlocking future things to make the overall game better for all players, and that's how it's being designed. All of you are being thought of with each of these decisions, but earlier this year, as we were testing PvP and doing demos specifically in Argentina at the Avalanche Summit, man, we were getting great feedback. But almost every person that was their first exposure to the game was, man, this is a lot. Where can I start? And then we start going into a lot of the traditional systems and everything, but there was a big gap from summoning to hunts to PvP. Patrols is such an elegant solution that not only bridges that gap, but puts in place the foundation for systems that can exist in the future at all levels and leading into all levels. The end game as we see it today, a year from now, might not be end game. There could be a lot more things to do for end game. So I don't really like using that word. But I will say the elegant approach of patrols also lets us connect to large guilds and have people come in and start playing, feeding those systems that the mature players are already enjoying. And future things that comes from patrols will feed all of the desire of the hunters, of the min-maxers and everything. With one of the biggest pieces coming right out after patrols, tournaments. Man, these are going to be incredible. They're going to be fun. They're going to be active. And if you then look at all the things to do within DeFi Kingdoms, we're starting to provide a well-balanced offering. And that is something that we've missed over time, and have gotten feedback from a lot of professionals in the space that we needed to address in order to continue to not only grow a number of players, but grow as a complete offering. So I know that I'm probably preaching to the choir. When we first announced Patrols, there were so many good messages of like, yes, we need this. And this is helping us complete the game loop, and really excited. And when it came out, we're nearing what, 25,000, or maybe we just surpassed it. Thank you so much for playing. Thank you for supporting it. If then you look back and you're like, well, what does this mean for kind of some of the end game feeling stuff? Stay tuned. It's laying the groundwork for so much more. These aren't just build it and leave it features. They are build it and add on it features for all involved, both new and mature players.
For sure. I appreciate that as well, Dreamer. Anything anybody else wants to add to that real quick before we go into some alpha? All right.
I was going to say something about the alpha, but the alpha's going to say it, so you do it.
Fair enough. And actually, real quick, prior to the alpha, because Dreamer did mention it, actually, nope, never mind, because it's going to take over the screen, and I don't want to block the bout. We'll look at that later. We did hit a milestone in patrols, though, so we'll talk about that once this bout is over. I'm going to hand it over to Hubert for the honor of the alpha drop.
Well, thank you. And really, I almost feel like it should be Bullen who talks about this, because he was very instrumental in kind of the structure that we are going to go with for the tournament series that we have planned. So just kind of to give you an overview of what we're planning to have daily tournaments, probably 2 a day to start. We can adjust as we see the demand. And those dailies will kind of lead into weekly tournaments. We will be dropping new tokens that are qualifiers that let you get into these tournaments. So and those come from like like winning or getting in second place or like getting high in the tournament brackets and the dailies will let you compete in these weekly tournaments. And those will have other tokens that will be qualifiers into like I think it's more than monthly, but we kind of have going into like a champion series, and then we have a final all-star tournament that kind of comes from the winners of the champion series. So kind of tournaments leading into other tournaments. We will have even with like the dailies. With like there are going to be like entry fees for these tournaments. The dailies, you're going to be looking at like if you get first place, about a 5x of like the entry fee value to your earnings. We will have other like potential rewards we can put in on specific tournaments. We could have equipment drop from some of these tournaments. We can also have, these qualifier tokens, like anything that's considered a qualifier token is essentially burned when you enter. And they can be these new tokens. They can also be any token that we have in the game right now, or any quantity either. So like it could be like gold or bloaters or anything really, as long as it's an ERC token or ERC20 token or an 1155 token, which currently in the game we only have the pages are those. But I'll just note that the qualifier tokens are also going to be 1155 tokens because it's more convenient for us to use those with our design. Some of those will be tradable. So like if it turns out that you can't make a tournament and have a qualifier token, you would still be able to potentially get some value out of it by selling it to somebody who can make it to the tournament. Some of the qualifier tokens will not be tradable, and so you'll have them, and you can only use them if you go to the tournaments that use those. I think it gives us a lot of flexibility in what we can do. We're going to be exploring, how you guys react to it, how the community, like participates in the tournaments, and adjusting as we go. But we do kind of have the next 6 months of tournaments kind of planned out for now. But it's very possible we can make adjustments as we go. So maybe I said more than I should have, but that's kind of the whole big overview.
No, I don't think so. Real quick, I'm going to chime in because there was one thing you may have said. If so, I missed it. But if not, I'm going to throw it out there as a little bonus alpha. So yeah, as you move up through the tournaments, obviously it will continue to get more and more competitive. But in the current structure, the minimum in looking at a single tournament in a vacuum, the minimum is that the winner would get a 5x over their entry fee. So that is, of course, adjustable, but that is the current minimum out of all of the tournaments that we currently have planned, which I think is cool. So I wanted to share it. Over to you, Dreamer.
I don't know if everybody digested all that Hubert shared. I'm sure there'll be some rewatching. There's a lot of cool stuff there, but if you look at the world of DFK after tournaments are live, we are expecting daily competition. Sometimes this is going to be highly competitive, and sometimes it's just going to be goofy and fun. We want people to come in and compete not only with the best min-maxed heroes, but with some of the weirdest customizations. We have some good ideas. All of these will drop qualifiers for follow-on competitive tournaments as well. And depending on how active the player base is, the more we can do with it. The more we can do with it in terms of structure and leading to bigger and better like championship series, and also get sponsors to come in. We have had luck getting sponsors for hunts. The more success and activity we have with these like fun casual tournaments on all the different variations that we're planning to do, the more we can do other competitive sponsored streamed tournament series as well. So I hope you're looking forward to it. This is much more than just saying, okay, now we've organized you guys so you don't have to organize yourselves. We're trying to make it way cooler using the blockchain. So whether that qualifier might be a Visi or a token drop from a previous casual tournament, or some other token within the ecosystem or without the ecosystem, we want it to be customizable and fun, active, and really for everybody. So even if Like, for example, if you wanted to have a fun day tournament where it's just all healers, all level 5 and below healers, maybe that's not fun. Maybe we'd do that and be like, this takes forever. It's not fun. Unsure. We're going to kind of see how this goes, but it will definitely add a little bit of flavor in everybody's day-to-day life within DeFi Kingdoms. A lot of competition, a lot of reasons to get in there and use your influence and spectate and speculate, and many different ways to compete, even if you don't have the best skill or the best heroes. We're hoping it would be fun. And there might be some people that play and camp a lot of these casual tournaments and take their qualifier rewards. And they're like, I don't want to go up with the best of the best. I'm gonna monetize this for those that maybe don't have time to participate in the more casual tournaments. So we are thinking about the hardcore competitive players, the play for fun players, the play to earners, new players, and experienced players alike. This first stab at bracketed tournaments solves a lot of those, but it also is just the beginning to build on, with later releases adding to that creative potential and the rewards as well. So thanks for sharing all that, Hubert. Hopefully people are excited about it. I know it still is not a complete picture in people's heads, but I hope now you see that, especially with Patrol setting up new players coming in, learning the battle system while being rewarded and having progression and being able to participate in some of these casual tournaments really lays the foundation to build so much more in the game and to grow our very passionate and dedicated community.
Yeah, very much so. As Dreamer said, we're gonna try to have tournaments for excuse me, for everybody. We want everyone to be able to participate in one way or another. One other quick note, especially in this first piece, we're gonna be running different tournaments at different times on different days to really see what works when people are available to play. So keep an eye out, because it's not going to be the tournament at the same time every day. We're going to be mixing it up to be able to kind of measure those results and see when people are best able to participate. So very much looking forward to tournaments in general, and also it's going to be really educational in that first section, which is going to be very nice for us to be able to gather some data and again be more efficient as we move forward. Let's see. I'm going to snag a couple of questions from chat real quick because they're about tournaments. Anyway, we are going to move into the question part of the AMA. I warned y'all we might talk a little longer on updates today. Hopefully it was worth it. But we'll kick off with a couple questions from chat, one of which is actually a question that we had down for the AMA anyway. Hubert, expectation, tournaments before or after Divine Essence?
That's a good question, and I'm not actually 100% sure, but I'd say it's more likely to be after. But we do have Fox did a ton of the work on integrating all that. He basically did everything at this point. There's still some more work to do, but we do have the Divine Essence system pretty close to being done. There are some things, like I said, some things left, but it's just we're so focused on tournaments right now. I'm not sure we're going to be able to devote the resources to polishing that off to the end or before tournaments come out. But maybe I guess it's going to kind of see. But if it is after tournaments, I don't think it'll be that much longer after tournaments. If I'm being honest, but yeah.
Yeah, I'll just add a couple thoughts here too. It's a good problem to have because they're both so close. So yeah, I mean, it's like two huge features, and we don't necessarily want to launch them at the same time because that's a lot to do all at once. But they're both really, really close, so it's exciting.
And just as a reminder, before anybody asks us to delay tournaments to do Divine Essence first, we have contractual obligations on tournaments, so we'll see what happens. But no, we are not delaying tournaments. Dreamer, I saw you on mute. Go ahead.
Do people know what those contractual obligations are and how close we are?
No, all they know is that tournaments are in them.
All right, I shall shut it. But we have a pretty fun plan on the release and celebration IRL. I'll shut it up.
Also, coincidentally, no, I won't make it that obvious yet. But Yeah, we do. You are right. Will they always be a bracket format? I mean, I'll just take this one. Although if Hubert wants to add anything, you're welcome to, of course. Yes, for right now, they will be single elimination bracket tournaments. We are discussing and open to adding other options to do like a World Cup format or double elimination or that kind of thing. But for right now, they are just single elimination bracketed tournaments. And there is not like a consolation bracket. So once you're knocked out of the tournament, you're done. So that way we aren't holding people up to, play for 12th where you're free. Hubert, anything you want to add to that? Sorry.
Yeah. So, we're making this all work on chain. And when it comes to smart contracts, we're also very aware of gas costs and things like that. Especially, with Metis where the gas is a bit more expensive. Like we need to be like hyper aware of how we can be efficient. If we were to add another mode, like double elimination, I think is close enough to single elimination that it wouldn't be that much of a different set of logic for us to do that. But like for something where it's not really a bracket at all kind of thing, then that becomes like a whole like separate ordeal, I would say, like where the way the inputs work, the way the data is saved, and the way everything is tracked. Probably none of it would work anymore. And we'd basically have to just make like a different tournament contract for that type. So we have a bunch of other things we want to work on as well. So it's going to be kind of a question, is like, is it worth it for us to not, release travel and the things that come with travel to do another mode of tournaments and things like that? And those are going to be the kind of questions we're going to be asking. And, I think in general, it's going to be a hard thing to balance, and it would be a good chunk of work, especially if it's not a bracket tournament that we were working on. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. All right. Real quick, before we roll into our next question, we're going to circle back to the patrols milestone that was earlier mentioned, and I'm going to play this little clip. We have indeed surpassed.
Woo!
We have surpassed 25,000 fights. I think we've actually broke 26,500 already, and are rapidly approaching, if we have not now passed, the 10,000th patrol as well. So shout out to all of you patrollers out there. Really exciting to see that first mythic drop. There's still one more out there. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. If anybody has anything they want to add to that, feel free. If not, I will jump into some questions.
Yeah, there's yeah, real quick, there might even be a little I mean, it's never mind. I don't know. I mean, we're talking about the Berserker coming tonight, right? Like that's like it's pretty much out there. So there might be other little features coming with that too. Some exciting one or two little things for patrols to make them more enjoyable. So watch for that with today's rollover.
I don't even know what you're referring to, so now I gotta go find out myself. Anyway, Sir Worm, it has been 2 weeks. Yeah, I know, right? Listen, I can't spell alpha if I don't have it. That's how I solve my problem. It has been 2 weeks. So 2 weeks since patrol launch, and we have already had over 25,000 fights and nearly 10,000 patrols, which is fantastic. All right, jumping into some questions. We actually already answered the first one because it was in chat, which is even better. I'm going to answer this one on behalf of the front end folks. Can we get a compare feature in the hero interface? We would absolutely love to do that, as well as something related to being able to see the impact of changing equipment. We've talked about like the equipment view before. So it really all just boils down to timelines and priority of when we can dedicate some of our front end resources to building out those features. And then I'm going to, it's a good thing I already made Hubert talk because I don't think he's going to have to answer a lot of questions today. I'm going to jump over to Dreamer for a couple questions. First one, speaking of events, will we be in attendance at Avalanche Summit in May in London? And do we know if we have tickets for the community?
That's the plan, to be in attendance. Argentina summit, or their LATAM summit in Argentina, was awesome. They're doing a really cool thing where I think the plan currently is every 6 months they go to Latin America, Europe or EMEA, US, and then Asia. So the upcoming one is EMEA in London. And it's been communicated that we're expected to be there. And last time we got some cool support to demo some of our early PvP days. We'll have to see what we can have ready and shareable and demoable at their summit. So the free tickets for the community, they did in Argentina just do free tickets for like locals there. And then if communities did ask, they hooked people up. So I do think that is likely, but I don't know what they're deciding. That might have been a one-off for that region, since it was the first time we really got exposed to that region, and they may not do it in London. They might sell tickets. I don't know. In Barcelona in the past, I believe they sold tickets and had some limited ones for locals. But if people are in the area or wanting to travel there, please do kind of make it known, and we'll try to get a tally early on and say we would like to have some community representation and ask. So if we don't think we're going to have a number to solve for and we don't ask, we might miss out on that opportunity because we don't control what they'll do. But if we know up front and you're in the region or want to be, please do express it and we'll try to hook you up. Avalanche does a pretty good job with lead time to hook up communities that support.
Yeah, I think we've managed in the past in Barcelona to get a few tickets for our folks as well. So yeah, reach out to me. Just shoot me a DM on Discord or wherever if you're interested, and that way we can keep you updated and have an idea. We love to see you guys at events. We love to see you guys. We get to meet you guys in person. So yeah, shoot me a DM so we can kind of start spitballing a head count and see what we can get done with them. Follow-up for you, Dreamer, although entirely unrelated, so not a follow-up, just another question. Do we as a team have thoughts on the current changes by the US government regarding crypto and DeFi, and if it potentially frees us up to do some different things?
Potentially frees us up to do different things. I don't understand that portion, but there's a lot
Things
going on.
that previously we wouldn't consider for regulation reasons, as regulations
Oh,
potentially change.
got it. Like with centralized exchange concerns and stuff. Man, it's been a wild ride the last 2 years. Depending on the month, whether things are hot or not. I mean, it seems like the worries and concerns with China bans and other approaches, lawsuits going on, litigation, uncertainty with regulation. You just kind of see people get whipsawed back and forth on this. So what I'm sharing right now is my own limited understanding of what's going on. In my opinion, it's not really the opinion of the whole team, but it is something that we are going to be working with experts in the space who also don't know what's going to happen to be as nimble as we can and look around corners and solve for it. But if you don't know what this question is referring to, about a week ago, President Trump signed something called the Strengthening American Leadership in Digital Financial Technology Executive Order. And I think at first glance, some people might be like, "Oh no, regulation, or this is bad." It actually did a number of things. It reversed some things that were done in the past. It's kind of focused on getting clear but fair regulation in place, which, in my opinion, should lend to a easier and more stable path to like mass adoption. There was also something called the Staff Accounting Bulletin 121 that was more geared to banks that required them to report any crypto assets as liabilities on their balance sheet, and holding as assets, they have to report them as liabilities. So obviously a big deterrent for banks to have any type of a balance in crypto. I do think that the efforts to rescind that and kind of like try again is how I interpret it. All of these things I think should be interpreted as bullish on mass adoption. Now, what does that mean for things that aren't stable coins, that aren't things that like big financial institutions will like to hold as a currency or store hold of value, like NFTs or offerings or games that are in like altcoins or non-stables, non-majors? It's really TBD. There's no way that anybody could conclude good or bad because we don't know what the regulation will be when it comes. We do know that people seem to be in position to find a more fair result and not go on random witch hunts and run in circles and scare people and like fear monger people. I think that's good. But we need definition and we need clarity. It'll definitely help with some volatility in the space. So there are other like major things that happened. Pardon of Ross that you see at a lot of events, people talking about that. He was the Silk Road, whatever dark place, the dark web marketplace Silk Road founder. I think that's interesting in and of itself. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna be good or bad for games, but I do know it's good for crypto so far to know that there's interest for fair regulation. Institutions getting involved could be good or bad. A lot of money could all flow to stables and majors, and everything else could just get a lot less love because now you're drawing a line between like risky digital and non-risky, or it could open the floodgates, as some have said. And when it takes a lot more money to move majors and stables, staking and rewards are limited, man, it could really open up for other things like crypto gaming. So that is my opinion. That is a little bit on what happened. I invite you to go and do your own research on that executive order, on the different rules that were in place and how they might be shifting, but also to stay tuned. This will change probably weekly, daily, monthly throughout the entire Trump administration and then thereafter. So anything that we were to say now on our opinions really could be different tomorrow with what changes. Also, there are people in our game that are very knowledgeable about a lot of this. Sticks Intern, who I'm really curious if he's just like shaking his head at everything I'm saying. He's like, no, this is horrible. Everybody's going to have opinions. Even the smartest lawyers in the US and in the world are still going to have opinions that could change depending on what happens tomorrow. But in my opinion, uncertainty is a lot worse than fair rules, especially when you're trying to think long term and you're not just looking for 1,000x and exit like a lot of people in crypto in the past were. So we are fundamental builders. We like fundamental rules and fairness, and we like stability and predictability to prepare and present and build a game that grows and lasts for decades. So I'm hoping that it's good. And how does it change us? We've been very careful in things that have been largely uncertain, especially with ongoing investigations at the CFTC after like Binance and SEC after Coinbase. If I mix those up, sorry. This removes those concerns. It doesn't mean that we automatically go get listed on every exchange because there's a lot of other barriers to entry there too. But there were times in the past where it just seemed like a very unwise decision to push hard in certain environments and to get on certain radars. And now it seems like much more favorable. We still don't know how the regulations will be written though. Could end up being not. So let's all stay tuned. Let's continue to learn, try to be vigilant, and do our best to build cool stuff within the parameters set by things we don't control.
Awesome. Thank you for that thoughtful answer, Dreamer. I am going to go ahead and pop Kurt up on stage. He's here with us. I am going to ask you to hold on just a moment, though. We are going to take one more question because we pulled the data to be able to accurately answer it today. So I want to just knock that out real quick, and then we will go into wrap up and hear from our own Kurt as well. So Hubert, last question goes to you. Any idea what the breakdown of group levels running patrols looks like today?
Yeah. So right now, so we just pulled this earlier before the AMA, so it should be fairly current. And I think there's a lot of different statistics you could look at that. It's kind of hard to say everything, but I guess a few things that I can say is we did a count of how many teams were there where there was at least one hero that was above at level 10 or above versus not. So for those where the teams were at level 9 or under for the whole team, there were almost 6,000 of those. And on the teams that had at least one hero at 10 or above, there was 3,900. Of those. So it is majority below level. I don't know if that means, we didn't specifically check like were the level 9s fighting in the tier 3 or were they fighting lower tiers. So they could there could still be teams that are taking it easy, as it were, and doing, going kind of overpowered into the patrols, but it didn't go that far. Looking kind of at like the average team levels, using kind of the weighted average that we do. Let's see, the largest average team level is 13, which tells me that is like a level 20 plus a couple lower level heroes is probably what was happening there. But that's just kind of looking at the averages, and so that doesn't really tell specific numbers. But I guess kind of just rolling through it, I'll just say numbers real quick, and this is going to start at level 1 and just go up from there. So about 300 for 1, 400 for 2, 600 for 3, 250 for 4, 300 for 5, 677 for 6, 500 for 7, 590 for 8, 800 for 9, 700 or about 800 for 10. And then past that, it's kind of the same-ish. There's just a few levels that are kind of lower. Like 17 only had 157, 18 had 152, 19 had 99, and 20 had 500. So, and yeah, I said 1,000 for 13, so that was the highest. So yeah, I think it seems like there's a pretty good spread. Looking at just like the individual levels of heroes, the largest number of them was level 10, actually, above 3,000 heroes that were level 10 did patrols. The second largest was level 20, actually, which is a little over 2,500. But then there's quite a large grouping of level 1s, 2s, and 3s that are all about above 2,000 each. So I think there's kind of a balance. There's people that are loot farming, and there's people that are playing it, at the challenge level and trying to level up their heroes. It's good to see both of those things happening, I think. And, we kind of built this with, flexibility in mind, as far as like what could be done. So anyway, hopefully, I said a lot of numbers. There should be a recording. Hopefully you can go back and
listen to them.
Yes.
Which, yeah, one thing just real quick from your list of numbers, average team level 20 is only 510 out of 9,849. So level 20s are being utilized, as we saw from the other numbers, but just pure level 20 teams are a pretty small factor.
Yeah, it definitely seems like there's some mixing happening. So
awesome. Anything you wanted to add to those numbers? I didn't mean to interrupt you, but if you weren't done.
No, I mean, I really just appreciate that everyone's playing and enjoying it. I hope someone will find that last mythic at some point here in the near future, but we'll see. And just looking forward to being able to continue to build on patrols and just show you guys what the kind of things we can do with it, because I think we can do a lot, and we build it to be very flexible, very future proof, and I'm very happy with where it's at and what we're planning. So that's all I'll say.
Awesome. We will jump into wrap up real quick and then go to Kurt for any comments or questions or anything he wants to say, as well as signing us off. Real quick, as always, I'll just say thank you to everybody who's here listening, everybody who listens to this recording later, as well as everybody who submits questions for us to answer. As always, you can submit your questions at talk.defykingdoms.com or the AMA questions channel in Discord. I know we didn't get through as many questions today. It happens sometimes. We had a lot of updates to talk about. I hope everybody enjoyed those updates and some alpha drops on tournaments. But pending anything crazy happening, next week we'll try to buckle down and get through more questions than normal to make up for it. And we usually do a pretty good job of that. So keep them coming. Winston, 2-time winner today. I think I think you did that when you played Sarge too. So this is the second time.
Yeah, I'd already kind of ripped Sarge a little bit, so I didn't want to break his balls anymore. I didn't do it, so it wasn't me. Let's get a rematch going, Sarge. Maybe take another swing at that, or if you want to hire me, I coach. So think about that. I'll coach you if you want. Yeah, thanks, Kurt. Thanks for fighting me. Love another fight in the future. We can take that Berserker team in again and see how it goes. Thanks to everybody for hanging out with us today, and thank you for playing the game with us. It'd be really tough to make this without you taking the time to give us feedback and tell us where things could be better, or also the things that you like. So that really helps to hear from you guys. So thank you very much to the whole community. And happy birthday to Beetle Dude himself. He's I think he's turning like 350. He's old, dude. He doesn't look old, but he's pretty old. He's like biblically old. So happy birthday to Beetle Dude, and thank you specifically to Kurt for fighting me. And you'll get your chance to talk some shit here in a minute. So thanks everybody, appreciate it.
I was going to suggest at one point that we all sang happy birthday to Beetle, but I figured everybody would leave.
Hell no.
Fox, any final comments?
Yeah, I did want to just mention that after a 2.5 hour committee meeting this week to talk about tournaments, like I'm really excited about it, and huge shout out to Hubert at the Magnus on the building and planning side and architecting side, and then also another huge shout out over there to Bolon for like spending all kinds of time trying to come up with the best way to do those tournaments. It looks like it's going to be really, really fun, and it just adds like so much engagement. So I'm super excited about that, and I think it's going to be great. So that's all I really wanted to add. I just want to say thanks to everyone on the team and in the community. You guys are awesome, and yeah, back to you.
Hubert, back to you. Final thoughts?
Yeah, I think I've said it a lot of times that we've just been, keeping our heads down, doing tons of work in the past little while, especially last few months, trying to get patrols, like we squeezed that in. Still had to get tournaments done, also wanted to make progress on other things like Divine Essence and whatnot. So, I think here you're already seeing some of the fruits of that labor, and it's just going to kind of continue to be shown. I think in a shorter time frame than we've seen in the past for some other things. So hopefully you guys are excited for that, and I'm really excited for that. And yeah, that's all I'll say for now.
Dreamer, any final thoughts?
I talked a lot at the beginning. I don't want to repeat everything, but I just want to request that all of the love and dedication that we've shown over the years and coming through with different ideas and surprises, we just plan to keep them coming. So in the moment, if you get frustrated with the decision or you don't see that full vision, please do hop in this AMA and ask those questions. Discord's great, but if there's a very clear question that we can make sure we respond to, please do that. And we're trying our best to respond to everything while also adjusting where appropriate and being as transparent as reasonable. Now, there is a lot of value in releases having impact and saving some nuggets. There's some value in being very transparent. We're always trying to walk that line. So just a big thank you for having grown up conversations with us and believing in us, but also sharing your view and trying to help. If we're all just trying to help, can't be bad to talk about it, as long as we don't get too distracted from building the dang thing. So big shout out to everybody. We all care about, on the build side, we all care about this a lot and want to make sure that we don't let anybody down. We want everybody to be happy. It's impossible to make everybody happy. So let's at least make sure everybody's heard, that we have fun, build and progress, and want to make this a great year. So tournaments are on the horizon. So are a ton of other things in development and a ton of things that are out now that have big plans to contribute to that big picture in this year and years to come. So thanks for the words, the encouragement, and the trust.
Thank you, sir. All right, Kurt, floor is yours. Anything you want to say, anything you want to ask, have at it. Oh no, I saw you come off mute, but I can't hear you. Can anybody else hear Kurt?
I cannot hear Kurt.
No.
Negative.
Kurt.
You might have to go into like settings and maybe mess with mic or turn on your camera and just like figure out a way to mine bullish.
Do one of those like paper drop message things where you just stare at the camera. We'll
yeah,
wait.
there you go.
That could be cool.
Kurt, where are you? No, I'm used to getting rugged by Twitter, but we don't normally get rugged by StreamYard.
Should we count him out?
Yeah, I was waiting to see
I can pull up my hat next to his thing.
I was waiting to see if he got it, but it doesn't look like he's getting it. No, Kurt, we can honorarily have you on another AMA. But well, in that case, who wants to take it? I vote Winston. Winston, you're in charge.
All right, I'll just do it. Thanks for fighting me, Kurt. I'm sure if you could say something, you would say that Winston is the coolest person. And
Oh wait, that's a good point. Hang on. No,
Oh,
never mind.
wait.
I'm taking it back. No,
Wait,
I'm going to
wait,
speak for
no.
Kurt. Winston,
Sorry,
you only won because I played Berserkers. This wasn't a real battle. It doesn't count in your win count. Don't even try it. No, I got you all day, every day. All right, I'm done. You
Yeah, that is probably, he probably would be saying that. That's for sure. Yeah, thanks, Kurt. I'm sure you'd say that you are having a lot of fun and that you're one of our favorite community members and that your attitude is top notch. So because of Kurt's attitude, I am bullish.
Bullish!
Bullish!
Bullish.
We'll
Thanks,
see you.
everyone. Thanks, Kurt.
DeFi Kingdoms, where you can summon heroes, trade with other players, quest, and fight challenging enemies in a fantasy world brought to life in pixel art animation. Command your legion and claim your legacy.